Definitely time to get a little bit of shelter out of this wind. It's really cold up here today. That's a little bit better. It's not perfect, but it's the most shelter I can find up here today. So I apologise if there's wind noise picked up, but it's just the location that I'm in and the time of year and the type of day it is. But today I'm doing something a little bit different, not because of where I am, but simply because what I'm doing. I'm out today specifically to try and test a new lens that I've bought. It's a lens which covers the exact same focal length as a lens I already had, and I've already done some testing of the lens just getting here, and I've not even had it out of my bag. So are you a little bit confused? Well, stay tuned and I will explain. So for over a year now, I've been giving some quite serious thought to potentially reducing the overall weight of camera equipment that I carry. And when I bought my original 70-200 lens, I bought the f2.8 image stabilized version. That was so I was able to do landscape photography and also portrait photography. The image stabilization and the ability to go wide open to f2.8 aperture was of benefit for doing portraits. However, as you get older, I guess, and the more and more you walk and climb, you begin to think about, can I reduce the weight of my camera equipment? So I've been giving it some thought for a long time, and I came to the decision that the most cost efficient thing I could do and the biggest weight reduction I could make would be to swap that lens when I'm out doing landscape photography for the f4L version, the non-image stabilized version. It's a much older lens. It's a third of the price. It's not got image stabilization. Wide open it goes to f4, and I think it's just over half the weight of the very heavy f2.8 lens. Now I love the f2.8 lens, fantastic lens, fantastic image quality. But doing my research, I think the quality on the f4 should be the same or very close to the same, so I don't think I'm going to lose out in terms of image quality, and I'm going to save in weight. So as I said, I've done some testing already without even taking it out of my backpack, and I have felt a difference. I notice it comparing it in my hand, a huge difference with the f2.8 lens. I notice it when I pick up my backpack, and I've noticed it walking. At the moment I'm up in the mountains. I've climbed, I think, over 550 meters to get to this point, so that's going to be very hard, even not carrying anything. But I have noticed a slight difference, and it's certainly fueled my thoughts for trying to make potentially more weight savings in terms of my camera equipment. But anyway, I'm just out to test the lens. I'm sure it's going to be great, but I'd like to take some shots myself. I'm going to experiment with different focal lengths, different apertures. I'm not going to cover all that in the vlog, but at the end of the vlog I'll put up a bit of text giving you my overall thoughts on the lens, and if I think it's been worth the purchase for use in landscapes. If I see any other compositions that demand use of another lens, of course I'll take them. It would be crazy not to, but I'm just off to have a look around and try and get some shots with the f4 lens. They may not be the best shots ever, but the reason I come out today was just to test the lens. Now I'm probably going to take shots at quite a distance, but that's not the only reason I use a 70-200 lens, but it's probably the main reason, and I just thought this would be a good place to try that out, so that's my intentions for today. So out of nowhere the wind has really picked up now. It is an absolute gale. It's been trying to blow over my tripod, so getting this first shot's been quite tricky. Unfortunately the light is not what the forecast said it would be today. It's got quite overcast. It's bleak, I think is the best word to describe it. But anyway, I'm out to test the lens. I'm not out to get fantastic shots, they would just be a bonus. The first shot I'm taking is in portrait orientation. I've got the mountain over in the distance with the snow at the top right of the frame. and I've got these pools of water underneath me with some hopefully nice leading lines going out there. I'm about 80mm for this shot. I'm using a high shutter speed because of the wind, and there's bits of movement in the grass etc. in my shot, so hopefully this one will look okay. It's a good test of the lens. So yesterday simply didn't work. I had to abandon that shoot, unfortunately. I enjoyed the climb, I enjoyed what I saw, but in terms of photography and testing this lens, it just wasn't going to work. And also for my own safety, I just had to abandon it. What happened simply is that a weather front came in. The wind picked up to extreme strengths. If I didn't keep hold of my camera and tripod, it would simply blow over. So that was no use for photography. It was going to cause a lot of camera shake, etc. It wasn't a fair test on the lens. It also got even more bleak. There was very little light and it started to snow. So in the interest of safety, I really just had to use common sense, pack up and get off the mountain, get somewhere safe before the weather really came in, and I was in quite a difficult situation. So come out again today, the following day, early in the morning, just after sunrise, and as I was walking along, the sun is sort of behind me and up to the right, and I just glanced and I noticed it was really catching this tree, the leaves here, the autumn leaves, and the colour in this scene caught my eye. So I thought this is a fairly good test of the lens. I'm using it here to zoom in and eliminate distractions and only take in the parts of the scene that I'm interested in. So obviously I want some of the colour. I'm not too bothered about taking in too much of the tree on the left really. I just want that splash of colour, some of the other colour and ferns as well. So it's going to be a nice shot just to test the lens. The primary area of interest that I want sharp is the nice bright autumn leaves up at the top left of the frame, which are being lit up by the sun. It's coming through a gap in the tree, so it's quite a nice scene. I'm at round about 190mm for this shot, so it's a good use of the telephoto lens. And I'm going to pack up, head on and see if I can find anything else. As I was walking along, I saw this really nice tree off in the distance. The sun is off to the right and it was giving it some wonderful side lighting. It had a wonderful glow to it. The light is gone at the moment, but fingers crossed it will come back. So I made my way through a lot of ferns. I've set up my composition here using the 70-200 lens, obviously, that's what I'm testing. And it's quite a nice focal length for this shot at about 85mm. I've got the tripod positioned, it's not at full height. I've deliberately kept it lower because I'm using the ferns in front of me, which are going to be slightly out of focus. And I've got them at the bottom right of the frame, and just in a little gap I've positioned the tree. The tree is off to the left of the frame, and it's a tree I want sharp. I want the foreground deliberately soft in this image. So I'm all set up. In my test shots I've been going back and forth between using an ND grad, a soft one, very delicately positioned at an angle just to take a little bit of the brightness out of the sky, but as the clouds come and go, as the light changes, it's debatable whether or not I actually need it. So I'm going to hang around, wait till the side lighting comes back, hopefully capture this tree at its best, and I'll quickly grab a shot and decide if I'm going to use the ND grad or not. If so, pop it in, get this shot and then move on, do some more testing. probably going to take quite a few more shots today than I typically would when I'm out doing landscape photography, and that's primarily because I'm out to test this new lens that I've purchased. And there's one thing that I was interested in trying out today, testing for myself, and that is that I noticed when I unboxed it, unlike the f2.8 version of the lens that I've got, this one doesn't come with a tripod collar to mount the actual lens onto your tripod. Now the f2.8 lens does come with a tripod collar, and that's for good reason, because that lens is, I think, just over double the weight of the new one that I've purchased. So depending on the strength of your tripod head, the tripod itself and so on, it's going to make the camera and that heavy f2.8 lens unbalanced, unstable. It's going to be front heavy mounted on a tripod if you mount the actual camera to the tripod. So this one doesn't have that. It obviously doesn't strictly need one, but I was interested to see how that performed for myself, and I think it's going to work okay, but I would be keen actually to have a tripod collar to mount it to my tripod. It's going to mean that although I've saved weight on the lighter lens, I need to add a bit of weight by getting a collar. But I just noticed when I was using filters on the previous shot, when you slide in the filters etc, just because the lens is quite long and you're mounting it onto your tripod via the camera itself, it wants to move a little bit. Not move and it alters the composition, because when you let it go it returns to its original spot, but it just seems a little bit unstable towards the front as you're working with your filters and so on. So I may end up purchasing a tripod collar for this. It's not essential, but these are the sort of things I'm keen to find out and test today. There are no prizes for guessing what my final composition of the day is. Yes, it's this wonderful vibrant tree off in the distance behind me. This whole area is in shade, there's no direct sunlight getting here, and as I was walking along I spotted this tree from a mile off, so I come up the hill here to have a closer look. The wonderful orange-brown autumn colour on it really attracted my eye, and I think that's why it works for me in terms of a composition. Everywhere around it is so flat really in terms of colour and light, but that tree really stands out, and I also really like its shape. So it's been an excellent test for the 70-200 f4L lens that I'm trying out today. There's been really no wind when I took my images, so I was able to focus on the tree. I've got it at the top left of the frame using these trees as leading lines, and I took some shots wide open at f4, so I'll be able to check those for sharpness. Then I've obviously closed down the aperture, increased my depth of field. I've took a note of where I've been focusing, and I'll be able to check the lens for sharpness at various apertures by having a look at the detail on the tree bark etc in the surrounding area. So it's been a really nice shot just for testing the lens, and hopefully quite a nice composition as well. But that's going to be it for me. It's certainly been a couple of very useful days for me. I've learned a lot about the lens. I'm going to learn more once I get a chance to review the images. And at the end of the video I'll pop a little bit of text just giving you a summary, my thoughts on the lens and whether or not I think it's been a worthwhile purchase for me. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next vlog.